Okay, and good evening, everyone. We're starting a bit later, and we're going to be covering a Professor Geek on YouTube video. It's a little different. He's doing a car. What do they call this? A car blog or car vlog, where you're just in your car and you're just recording yourself on your camera. I've seen this a lot actually the past few months because of COVID. Everyone's sort of staying alone, and it's kind of cute. I kind of like it. I kind of like just people just one take. You just say your thing, and that's that. I don't know. Maybe this one he actually does do edits, but we're talking about the Joker movie, and that came out recently. Or as far as superhero movies, although this is technically not a superhero movie, it uses the superhero character from Batman and tells a story in a more contemporary setting. And apparently he was right about it, and a lot of people had a lot of we had all kinds of speculation. What the heck was the Joker going to be about? Is it going to be a pastiche of the original Joker? Is it going to be comic booky? Is it going to be a slice of life? Is it going to be dark? And it turned out to be a little bit of everything, mostly a dark commentary on society.
Yeah, I really like the Joker. I really enjoyed that movie. It was really really good. It was very very surprising. Because when I first thought about it was kind of the opposite. My experience with the Joker movie was kind of the opposite of my experience with Star Trek Picard. I thought Star Trek Picard was going to be at least somewhat good. I mean, they had to give it some deference because it's about Picard, and they didn't. And so I it went from something I thought was going to be at least decent to something that would turn out to be horrible, horrible stuff. And then the Joker movie, going by the premise of we're going to explore the origin of the Joker. Oh, that's a bad idea, especially now in in the hands of these writers these days. People who pumped out Batman versus Superman and all these other weird DC movies that weren't doing all that well. I said, okay, this is not going to turn out all that well. This is a bad idea. They're going to ruin the Joker. And then it turned out to be great. So it's kind of the opposites of these experiences.
Same question with Joaquin Phoenix and various other players of the Joker. We're like, okay, that probably won't work out too well. Didn't really, well, depending on which versions they're in, we like the voice acting of the Joker or the actual actors. Always skeptical. Like, okay, another Batman ripoff, and especially when you're doing a background story of the Joker. I think the only one was The Dark Knight Returns, or was it Frank Miller's?
Yeah, Batman vs
Joe
Superman.
Cool.
They might as well have just ripped off this Dunn Dark Knight Returns for Batman vs Superman. All the things they stole from Frank Miller on that movie.
Yeah, the Joker's always been a little difficult to narrow down. And what version of it is it? Is he ex mob boss? Is he just some scientist guy? Did he just have one bad day? Who is this guy? And
That's kind of where they come up with the three Joker theory. Mad Pat actually covered this on Film Theory, where you do actually have three distinct Jokers. You have like the Cesar Romero Joker, which is like the Silver Age Joker, where he's like this kind of a prankster. Then you have the original Joker, who was like a mastermind, and then you have like the scientist Joker. You got the prankster Joker. Then you have the I think this lunatic psychotic Joker that you get with some other iterations.
it's interesting because I do like them all, but they're all very simple, and that's the problem. They've never really defined them until I think was it Frank Miller came along, and the various names of Joker, like with Joe Cool was one of the names. I can't remember the other name. I know it's on the tip of my tongue, but they were fleshing out his backstory, like his wife left him or died or had a miscarriage. I can't remember the exact backstory.
Oh, that was the Killing Joke.
Killing Joke.
Alan Moore explored that story in the Killing Joke, where he was trying to get money for his, I guess, because he was a horrible stand-up comedian, so he didn't actually get that much money from telling jokes. So he threw in with the Red Hood gang, and then in the middle of that, because he was supposed to be the Red Hood, he was a regular guy, but the whole thing is that they get regular people to play the Red Hood, so that there's no like real leader. It's just kind of they have a figurehead as leader, and then he was just he was obviously in over his head, and then some cops come in, and he thought he was in trouble, but they told him his wife died because he was taking a bath, and there was like something electronic fell in or something. She got killed, she died, and that's where he was stuck in the deal with the Red Hood gang already. So it was one really bad day. That's what the whole Killing Joke was about. He experienced one bad day, and because his wife died, he was stuck in doing this crime, and then his life was kind of ruined because Batman at his fight with Batman kind of ended with him being dunked into a chemical vat. So that's what the whole thing of Killing Joke was about. Just one bad day.
That was Alan Moore? Okay. Interesting. It's been a while since I've read these books, so... anyway, let's...
There he is.
Oh, is he here?
There's Lord Commander Dunn.
Hey, Dunn, how's it going, buddy?
Hey, sorry, I didn't notice the call thing. I apologize.
Not a problem, sir. We're just about to get started. I'm going to read some super chats and hit play. Be sure to join the watch together so you know what's going on.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah, fortunately, I heard about Professor Geek. He was requested that I stream with him and all that stuff. He seems like a cool guy. I've spoken with him before. So at the very least, okay, we're in for someone who can actually put a point together and just won't ramble on for 20 minutes about how we're all racist and stuff. So this guy is he actually knows what he's doing. He can make a point in an argument.
That's always a very good thing whenever we cover people. Yeah.
Breath of fresh air. It should be a breath of fresh air anyway. It should be.
Hopefully.
But Professor Geek, he's a cool guy. He's an actual writer. Like his job is writing. He does a lot of writing too. So he's an actual guy. He's not a lunatic. he's not gonna start rambling on how time and money are arbitrary or something. So
I'd love to chat with this guy, and honestly, like one of these days, LiteratureDevil, maybe we should just kind of exchange, have a meeting of the minds about our books. I think that'd be fun.
Could be. He'd probably be up for it.
It's always nice to talk to writers in a writer's circle or brainstorming session. It's always fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to read some chats, and then we're going to get going. This is from W.D. Frost. Just a friendly reminder, when you talk about a movie, it helps if you saw said movie. Good luck. This is true, guys. Whenever you're going to review something, it's good to actually experience it firsthand.
Yeah.
Okay. Good idea.
Yeah, even if I've never seen a movie, all I'll repeat is word of mouth. That's the only thing I'll repeat.
Well, did Professor Geek not watch the movie before he talked about this?
We're going to find out.
Is that the circumstance? Yeah. I've seen the movie. I've seen The Joker. I've seen it twice or three times by now. So I'm good to go on this one.
Here's Jake the Surgeon again, sir. Thank you. What brand of autism are we going to experience today? I don't know. You could call it argument from ignorance. Argument of post-projection, meaning you think something's going to happen, and then the event occurs, but you don't experience it. You say, I was right the entire time. It's like, okay, I guess so. Would be nice to know if you actually watched the movie, but we'll find out what's happening here.
Yeah, we'll see. This should be fun.
Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel. If you were with me on the live stream a few nights ago, then you were there when I promised a video on this, so here it is. And this video is, yes, I was right about the Joker movie. I was absolutely right about the Joker movie. So, two things, obviously, that question will lead to are, how do I know that? Did I go see it or something after saying I wasn't going to see it? Secondly, what exactly was I right about? What did I say about it? So, I did not go see it. I said I wasn't going to, and I did not go see that. I'm not interested in giving my money to that. Not because of the stupid political reasons. If anybody's new to the channel.
Okay, to his praise right off the bat, he goes over what exactly he said before. He says, first of all, what did I say before? He would not get this in these other videos like the people who we usually cover. Okay, they usually are so arrogant that they think that you've watched everything they've done already, and that you know exactly what they're talking about, and that you already agree with them. So, already a breath of fresh air on this front. Say that.
Plus, he said he wasn't going to go see it, and he hasn't seen it. So I'm guessing he's relying on people's opinions or reviews or what have you.
And secondhand information, that sort of thing. So I guess we'll see what happens. See where he's going to go with this.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
I think that's ridiculous, and I think it's really, it's probably a marketing ploy, honestly, trying to pit this movie against the Birds of Prey film somehow. And you've got, a lot of the usual suspects, touting, oh, Harley Quinn, it's going to be so wonderful, and what a great example of diversity and such or whatever. And then you've got, the Joker, usual, oh, evil, violence, white male, blah, 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 I think that's probably some marketing, but, that's playing out. And I think there are some people, genuinely upset about it, which is ridiculous. So that's not why I didn't go see it. As I've said in previous videos, this is not the proper treatment.
Thank you.
Yeah, so he's actually intelligent. That's actually
yes. I see. I told you.
He's very intelligent.
validated.
Clearly.
No
Yeah.
political reasons, no hype, no marketing, none of that bullshit men thing. It's like, great, thank you. Let's continue.
Yeah.
See,
Like-
I told you, he has a Professor Geek.
Yeah.
He can provide a point, provide a concise line of logic. So
Yeah.
we're not in for a weird a weird trip down insanity lane.
Yeah. Or with Renegade Cut.
Oh
was
yeah,
insane.
I'm going to spend the first minute insulting everybody and calling you a bigot if you disagree with me. Now we didn't get this we haven't gotten this with Professor Geek. It's already been a minute 19 seconds. He hasn't called us a bigot once, so off to a good start.
The Joker, this is going to be detrimental to him and the roles that he plays in our society and in the Batman mythos in particular.
Okay, what is the role of the Joker in our real society aside from just being a cartoon comic character? I don't know what that means.
It's talking. Is he kind of referring to the Joker in like the movie specifically, or is he trying to refer to the Joker as like in real life, the comic book version of Joker, or is he trying to like what does Joker represent to us?
I think he means real life.
Yeah, let's back up a little bit, see if we
Okay.
can...
Let's go over it again. Let's go over it again.
I didn't go see it. As I've said in previous videos, this is not the proper treatment of the character of the Joker. This is going to be detrimental to him and the roles that he plays in our society and in the Batman mythos in particular.
Yeah, so it's our society as well as Batman mythos. So it's kind of like the public opinion we have of the Joker as an idea.
Right. So what he's trying to put forth, I think, is the fact that there's this idea of the Joker. The Joker has already been established, and that this portrayal of the Joker in the Joker movie by Joaquin Phoenix is going to bring that down some. It's going to like water it down, make it a high tier character, a lower tier character somehow.
I think maybe part of it is the idea of kind of the Joker has always kind of had the idea, like in the Killing Joke, where he says, "I prefer my past to have multiple choice."
Right.
I think that's what it's referring to.
And with all due respect to Professor Geek here, the Joker has changed. I mean, there's a reason why there's this whole the whole Three Jokers arc thing. There's a reason why that's kind of probable, even though I think they might have forgotten about it or haven't continued it yet. But there are distinct versions of the Joker, and the Joker does keep changing as Batman keeps changing. And you have the, in fact, people might hate MatPat or whatever, but he goes over this pretty well. He looks into it a little bit, and I find that he's on point on some of these topics. That the first Joker was like this mastermind. He was that guy who says, I think his first scheme was, okay, I'm gonna this guy is gonna die at midnight tomorrow night, unless you give me some money or whatever. And it happens. They tried everything in their power to stop him from dying, and it happened. That's Joker. And it turned out to be like he's like this mastermind, very good at chemicals, poisons, that sort of thing. And then the other Joker comes out in the Silver Age. The Silver Age Joker is like this prankster. He's like a Joker. He's the kind of guy who would turn like rivers into Jello or something as his big scheme. And then you have the psychotic murderer Joker.
Yeah.
And then you have I think you have this other Joker, like a mafia running Joker. And the Batman animated series Joker. Yeah.
Yeah, or the Frank Miller Batman.
Oh, yeah, that guy's the lunatic. Frank Miller Joker is a lunatic. Off the hinges nut job.
See, that's what I think of the Joker. I think of the Frank Miller version just because it was so extreme. It was psychotic. It was still brilliant. He was still crazy. Yeah. But he had this dramatic flair to him that wasn't over the top. It wasn't Silver Age crazy or Batman original series crazy.
I think Scott Snyder kind of took that run and ran with it a little bit, because in his little run, he's like, the Joker is kind of in love with Batman, but it doesn't seem like a romantic love. It's more like you complete
psychotic obsession.
Yeah, psychotic obsession, almost like a bromance, but a really toxic one.
Right.
Yeah, something like that.
I think we'll do this forever.
Because
I love that version of the Joker. I love it.
He has the most fun with Batman, because every other criminal or a crime fighter is like, it's kind of boring. I need the bats to keep me happy, to go along with my game of cat and mouse. So, and he knows
that's my personal favorite.
Yeah, and he knows he's never going to die because Batman will never kill him, and it keeps going round and round.
Yeah, the game will go on forever. Well, say in Dark Knight, I think we're destined to do this forever. And that's my favorite version of the Joker.
Well, the Nolan version of the Joker is still kind of an unknown. It's nothing.
It's kind of a mix between all three.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Actually, Cinema Wins actually did an interesting theory that the Joker in that version is coded as at least there are subtle hints of having a military background based on how he and that he was a disaffected soldier.
I think
based on a number of the clues.
I think in fact one of the working theories is that he was a soldier that's suffering from PTSD.
I like that.
From the Iraq War or something like that.
Yeah, there's honestly like a lot of reference to that, like how he brings up like
the soldiers blowing up.
Yeah, the soldiers blowing up, how he handles the gun during the parade thing, during the funeral, I think it is, during the honor for Commissioner Loeb, I think, where he's expertly handling that gun, as well as other military firearms, like the rocket launcher.
Okay, so there's different takes on Joker throughout the years, the movies, the cartoons, definitely the comics. Right. So that's what he's referring to, the mythos of Joker as we know him, that we talk about.
And just briefly, just to recap that, the Joker is an elemental evil. He's an elemental force. He's always been that. Mm-hmm. Yes.
I guess that's pretty accurate.
Like a force of nature. Like Joker was kind of a force of nature. Like every time he comes out, it's always a big showing. Like
right.
Every time they say the Joker is out here, Batman's saying, "Okay, time to get serious."
I tend to see this as a plot, like a scapegoat plot character. So it's like, oh, why is he doing this? He's crazy. Well, why is he crazy? Well, he believes in chaos. Well, what does that mean? And it's like whatever the hell he wants it to mean. And there's some villains and stories in video games that can embody that. And it's hard to say, well, I guess he just wants to see everything blow up and die and have fun doing it. So,
or he views chaos as kind of the only fair way to live, where there's no hierarchies.
That's kind of like why my favorite. I really like the Scott Snyder run on the Joker, specifically the death of the family. That's we kind of really see that sort of element of the Joker, that Professor Geek is referring to here, a kind of force of nature, because the Joker is kind of a force of nature in that storyline. He just kind of barely gets stopped at the end.
Which is interesting when you compare it to, let's say, the message of nihilism, let's say, was it The Last Jedi? Which was it like a default theme? It's like, oh, we have nothing left. Yeah. I guess it's nihilistic. Whereas Joker's like, well, the end result is nihilism, but really we just want to have fun blowing stuff up. Not in the oh, look, I have a gun, wee-hee. It's like, no, I have a gun, and I'm going to put this gun on top of a hill, and they're going to put a timer on that gun, and it's going to go off at a certain, like he has all these schemes of when to have, like he has all these plans to go things. So he's not a stupid person watching things blow up. He wants to blow up, and he wants to enjoy the spectacle of it all. So there's an element of sophistication to how he achieves chaos or how he achieves bedlam or craziness. So that's what I see Joker as, not some mad, crazy, violent dude, but someone who uses violence as a means to the ends of blowing stuff up because he wants to.
Right. It's like a guy who is trying to make a point or is trying to convey some sort of message with his, like was a Jack Nicholson Joker. He's like his artist trying to use violence and cruelty and murder to make a point, to convey some sort of message. That's what seems that the element of the Joker seems to have remained with him in his modern iterations, even in his most psychotic moments.
The Nicholson Joker, yeah, that's interesting because that character is also very generic, but he also has the mob background. He has a little bit of the chemistry back, but not really. He's not a chemical engineer sort of dude. And he is technically nuts. So it's kind of like I think of Jack Nicholson as anyone could have played that role. And just because it was Jack Nicholson, it was a good rendition. Like it could have been.
He's already crazy.
Yeah, it could have been like Robin Williams. Robin Williams would also have done an awesome job.
I want to see Robin Williams Joker. That'd been fantastic.
Yeah, that would have been great. You can't handle the truth.
Yeah, well.
Tried to give him origins here and there. Nothing really stuck though, because the character that people wanted him to be, that readers wanted him to be, he's not some spirit or anything. He's immortal, but he's mortal. I'm saying, but he's just he fills this role of this sort of elemental challenger of meaning, challenger of the Batman's justice, challenger of the Batman's black and white, and there are lines that one doesn't cross, such as killing and stuff like that. And I said the best example, I mean, not the best, but one of the best examples I've seen of this is in the Batman Arkham Origins game, which is surprising because that's the first one that Paul Dini didn't write, and Paul Dini just writes amazingly well. But Jeff Johns helped out a lot with the development of that, and it drew a lot from the comics. It drew a lot from Killing Joke, certainly, from some other comics as well. So the Joker's an elemental force, and I'll place links to these videos where I did the difference between elemental villains and the fallen villain, so to speak. And people are trying to make the Joker a fallen villain in this movie now. They're trying to make him a sympathetic anti-hero. A sympathetic anti-hero. That's not who that character's supposed to be. You should be able to...
Okay, this is interesting because he's saying, you know what, this version of the Joker is not what it's supposed to be. It's like, well, why can't it be in this regard? What's wrong with telling a origin story and giving him a human face and having him a lot of screwed up backgrounds that can make who he is? Like, I see nothing wrong with both.
At the end of that movie, it's kind of subverts your expectations, so to speak, in the fact that it's an origin movie that spends the entire time telling you that Arthur Fleck actually has no origin, so to speak. Arthur Fleck is not his real name. His mom is not his real mom, or something like that. I think he was adopted and he was abused, and he has no idea who he is. Yeah, he's a broken man.
Yeah, he's broken and has no real place to call his own. And then by the end, he finds a place to call his own in terms of the crowd cheering his name.
Here's a super chat from Dead Slash. Thank you, sir. The Killing Joke was meant to be an ending to Silver Age Batman. That's interesting. Pre-crisis. Okay, I know what you're talking about. At the end, when the laughter is cut off, Batman snaps the Joker's neck and stops being Batman. Oh, okay. So that's when you say the game's over, we're getting old, this is all we can do. And that was Alan Moore, I think, trying to...
and some people, it was kind of implied that he maybe have killed the Joker. It wasn't like a picture of him snapping the Joker's neck. It's kind of fading out, and then suddenly he stopped laughing. And then we get to see the rainfall, as the ending panels, the rainfall for the Killing Joke.
Yeah, he wanted to humanize these people, saying they're not just icons. They're actual people. They get old. They do things. They can't keep doing this. And an element of realism that you would not expect from these kinds of iconic characters. But Alan Moore is like, no. We're doing it the right way. I hate these superheroes. We're doing it.
To Professor Geek's to take his argument into consideration. I can see the arguments working that would say this Arthur Fleck character is not actually the Joker, that he's not living up to the Joker standards. Because usually we have the Joker, he's really smart, he's like a genius, he's a mad genius, he's really good with chemicals. It's kind of one of his staples. If he's not good with chemicals, then he's really good with planning things out. He's really good with chaos. He's master of chaos. And the thing is, Arthur Fleck isn't really any of those things. He's not like a genius. He's not like a guy who plans things out. He's not a leader of any kind. He's just kind of a crazy guy. He's more along the lines of a crazy guy, like a mad, psychotic lunatic. And that's not really what we kind of attach that to the Joker, but it's not. It's more like refined lunacy, even from his very first introduction all the way to his most crazy times until his most psychotic, his most maddening. He's like the Joker that cuts off his face and does all these puts all these plans into motion during the Scott Snyder run. It's even as his most crazy, he still has that dark, very real, very tangible intelligence that we get to see put in place, plan after plan after plan. So even in these games, whatever you want to call it, the Joker is a very, very dangerous enemy to deal with, because not only is he crazy, he's also very intelligent and very willing to do whatever it takes to complete his goals. And that is what murder, torture, whatever it is. And Arthur Fleck is really none of those. He's really none of those things. He's just he's more of a straightforward lunatic, so to speak, in relative to how the Joker is usually portrayed. So I could see that happening.
And I see nothing wrong, even if this is the more popular version of the Joker, that comic books would go this way, or the mythos would go this way, to humanizing the Joker, to make him more real. That could turn out to be true. But As it is, he's right. This is more of the mythos of he's this agent of chaos.
Go see him do all of these things. You shouldn't care about what caused him to fall into that. You should look at Joker and see the absolute horror that he's given himself over to. And that's what takes center stage, and that's what's the lesson, saying, wow, so no matter what I face in life, I can't go there. I need to make sure I never go there, in any whatever lesser degree that you might, because a few of us are going to end up, flat out jokers. But these kinds of tellings about, well, let's just examine his descent into madness. Let's examine that. Well, this just makes us look at him and go, oh, poor guy, yeah, oh, but for the grace of God, there go I. No, that's not what that character's supposed to do. He's not a fallen villain. He's not there to tell you, it could have happened to any one of us. I mean, that's what he wants you to believe, right? I mean, look at Killing Joke. All it takes is one bad.
Well, unfortunately, I might have to disagree just a little bit. Since you brought up the Killing Joke, since that was kind of a thing that was referenced here. If you take the Killing Joke as canon and the Joker's backstory, yes, he is kind of a fallen villain. Maybe not. Yeah. He actually dictated apparently in this what a fallen villain is in his perspective. But to me, I have not seen those videos. But to me, a fallen villain would be like someone who is, and he's calling Arthur Fleck a fallen villain. So I can take Arthur Fleck as an example, a guy who starts off in one place and just kind of goes into a descent toward villainy, descent towards madness. And that's the case. If Arthur Fleck is a good example of what Professor Geek considers a fallen villain, as opposed to an elemental villain, then we can compare that to how the Joker was treated in the Killing Joke. He started off as a down on his luck comedian with a wife who loved him regardless. Like his wife really loved him, and that's what made it all the more tragic. It'd be one thing if his wife was like, "Oh, you're a loser. I should have married the doctor who lived down the street. I should have listened to my mother." That sort of thing. But that wasn't the case. He was a loser. He was a failure at his whole his business. He was a chemical guy. He was very intelligent. In fact, that's why what got him in trouble, because the Red Hood gang picked him because of his connections to the chemical plant. But his wife really loved him. He had all these good things going for him, despite his down on his luck version of himself. But the thing is, he went from comedian to a guy who was down on his luck, who was always laughed at rather than laughed with. And then his wife dies, and then he got dragged into a life of crime out of sheer desperation. And then, due to his bad luck, he was just thrown into a vat of chemicals. And that's the whole narrative theme behind the Killing Joke. Yes, my themes is that he even says this in the book. One bad day separates me from you. Okay, one bad day. That's what he suffered. One bad day brought him from normal human being to the madman knows the Joker that you know today. So, unfortunately, Professor Geek, and according to what you presented here and what I can understand, what you're giving forth to us, if Killing Joke is taken into consideration, then yes, the Joker is, from what I can tell, if you call Arthur Fleck a fallen villain, then the Joker is technically a fallen villain, at least around the story of the Killing Joke, the very least.
Yeah, it's Macbeth, essentially. An honorable man has a tragic, decides to go down a route of darkness, and then he ultimately becomes the villain at the end. So in this version of, in this analogy, Joker doesn't die like Macbeth does, but he does go down that dark path. It's almost as if the first act of Macbeth was kind of elongated a little bit.
I see. Even if he was just a force of nature, I see nothing wrong with humanizing such an archetype and giving a character a plot that makes sense, even if it's more than just chaos for the sake of it. So with the Killing Joke, we have that background story. With other stories of Joker's background, we have it a little bit. But why not give your villains motivation? Aside from, it's all a game, it's all fun, it's all silly. We want our characters, especially villains, to have substance. And that's one way to do it, humanizing the character, bringing them up, smashing them back down, having them stay there in the pit of despair, and have them bring themselves up, which I think you get from the movie of Arthur Fleck and how he actually realizes that he can deal with these issues, whether it's through violence or otherwise. That is impressive.
Here's the thing about the movie. Here's the thing about the movie. The thing is, he seems like a sympathetic character, but I don't remember ever feeling sympathy for Arthur Fleck. Like I kind of connected with him, but I can see his psychotic break. So I was fascinated by the character, but I personally never sympathized with him. like as a poor Arthur Fleck.
Right.
I never had that moment personally.
I cared just based on like the fact that like he's having these terrible things after terrible things happen to him over and over, and he kind of takes it for a while, and then when he unleashes, it's actually like, oh dear, society should have taken better care of you, buddy.
Here's a super chat from Jake the Surgeon. Thank you, sir. Arthur isn't an anti-hero. He shoots an innocent man and enjoys the destruction he inspired, calling it beautiful. Yes, that's true. That does happen.
I think really at best he would be better classified as an anti-villain, kind of like a Zuko character at best. Now, I'm pretty sure that taking everything into consideration, Arthur Fleck at the end of the movie is just a straight up normal villain. But if you were to give him a little bit more generosity, then yeah, he is more like an anti-villain at best.
I tended to associate him with Final Fantasy VI's Kefka, who was basically the Joker. He was a clown. He wanted to watch the world burn, and he just wanted power to do so, and that was his fun. It was like, that's simple enough. He's a not really an agent of chaos, just an agent of getting angry and just destroying stuff. So, on the surface level, at least.
Yeah, fair enough. I haven't played Final Fantasy VII. I may watch a few run-throughs, but I need to work through some TV shows first.
6 is always going to be my favorite out of all the Final Fantasies, aside from tactics. It's just the storytelling, the ensemble cast, the music. It just came out at the right time. There's something special about 6. It's the unrefined version of 7, especially not having $1 million or multi-million-dollar budget. So, anywho.
Bad day, Batman, and you could be just like me. And Batman saying, no, absolutely not. There is right and wrong, and I face bad days just as you did, but I chose differently. I chose to react differently. You didn't. You chose to react the way you did. And that is that's the lesson. That's the, it's supposed to be an inspiration to drive us against those Joker-like forces in our life that constantly question and challenge everything, we stay or stand for or believe in. That's the beauty of the Joker and his character. I also said that the movie would probably be an extremely well-made film because the previews look like that, and that's what it seems like. Seems like that's the case. Everybody who's seeing it's like it's a really, really amazing film, as if that's the only thing that matters. Do these characters mean so little to you? Does their role in our society, are they so interchangeable and so replaceable to you? They're just nothing. They're just some color on the screen for you in a fleeting moment in the theater. So all you need is a good time and you're happy. Or all you need is a good piece of art well done, just within its own right. I was talking in my very last video about the Brandon Routh coming back as Superman Kingdom Come and how I believe Superman Returns, and I'll stand up for that movie in its own right as a film, not as a Superman movie. Not as a Superman movie. It did horrible things that it should never have done as a Superman movie. But if you, didn't name him Superman and named him some other character or whatever, it's actually a very decent, well-done film. It's all coherent.
Okay, I'm kind of curious why that is, because that was about...
I am too. That's an interesting idea.
The story with Superman Returns about him having a son, and there's plenty of stories of that in comics. I can't remember the exact title. I remember the cover. It showed a picture of Lois Lane, and she pulls off Clark's glasses, and in the reflection we see the shield as he takes off his shirt, and she goes, "Oh!" But the whole story was about if Superman had a child, what would happen? And it's a story of the child developing in Lois's womb. And I don't know, at 4 or 5 months, whatever it is, the child kicks and it hemorrhages her because it's Superman's child. It's very powerful. And she dies. Yeah. So ouch. It was such a, what can Superman do? Can he ever fall in love? Can he ever find a mate? Can he ever care for someone in a certain way? So there's all kinds of stories like that, which are beautiful. And I don't see why you can't explore that in that context with Superman Returns, where Superman goes far, far away to find out the remnants of his destroyed world, and he eventually returns. The world has changed, and Lois is a single mother, etc. So that's interesting to me. That's basically what Superman is all about. He's pretty much all about Lois Lane, the American way of life, doing what's just and right, and standing up for a little guy. He is the definitive Boy Scout, the number one superhero out of all superheroes to represent these things.
Yeah. I would concur with that. He's not necessarily my favorite. I think what Professor Geek is arguing for is kind of what Doomcock argues for, is kind of a cultural heritage that these films and these characters should be relatively indelible and should kind of keep their identity throughout time. But I think that there's a little tiny flaw in his argument in terms of, at this point, there are so many iterations that it kind of doesn't matter if there's another one, just so long as it's not crap.
I think what he might be getting at is that he respects the character of the Joker. Clearly, he does. He respects the character of the Joker. He really respects the lineage and the legacy, which is what I always try to instill in people. It's like, you have to respect the legacy if you're wanting to reiterate a character. But I think his argument here is that this is the Joker over here. Arthur Fleck, to him, is not the Joker. It's just and he feels outrage at the fact that people call him the Joker, because in his mind, from his argumentation, what it seems like is that all they did was Arthur Fleck was make another guy and then just put Joker makeup on him and called him the Joker. And so that's and from what I can tell, his argument is that it's a severe disrespect of the legacy of the Joker, which I could see. I could understand that. Yeah,
I can concur with that. Like, I guess.
I mean, I don't agree really, but
yeah.
I can see that. Yeah, I can totally sympathize.
Yeah, I can see that. Like, I guess an example might be if. Well, it's hard to think of anything besides comics. I think that, like, Jared Leto's Joker is an example of an insult to the Joker's legacy because he's crap.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. I think Leto's Joker was a lot more damaging to the legacy of the Joker than Arthur Fleck's was.
Yeah, or but I kind of think that there's like other Jokers that are kind of like, I think that even though I don't like him, Alex Shaw put it actually relatively well in that terms of the worst Jokers are kind of the mediocre Jokers, the Jokers that don't make an impression, like Brent Spiner's Joker in Young Justice, where he doesn't have any personality at all. He's just the dude with the clown makeup. I think his like, even a bad Joker is better than a mediocre Joker, even though the bad mediocre Jokers are really bad.
Here's Jake the Surgeon. Thank you again, sir. This seems like a bit of a straw man. Saying a film is good that you don't think accurately represents a character is not clapping at the colors or not caring about said characters. It's hard to say because first he didn't see it. That's fine. But he knows the reaction. He knows what happens in the story. Fine, whatever. But he's saying that Joker should never be humanized. Joker is this other thing. Let him be.
See, that's why I disagree with his iteration, because I can see where he's coming from. I think this could be another iteration of the Joker. I could see Arthur Fleck being at least representing some aspect of what the Joker reflected before, because you have, like I said before, different Jokers before. You had the mastermind, then you had the prankster, then you had the gangster, and you had the madman, the psychotic. You have different faces of the Joker, and Arthur Fleck could just be representing another one. Yeah. He still has a lot of elements in there.
Right, with Nolan's version. Like, that was supposed to be a real take on what if Batman were real? What would that look like? So you had to have Batman as a person, and he goes through his day. And all of a sudden, Joker pops up. You're like, wait a second, how did this guy get here? We don't know. We have no idea what his background is. We have no idea where his clothing came from. Everything about him's a mystery. You're like, okay, well, that's pretty much a force of nature then. You don't know what this guy is.
I think that one kind of example is, I'm going to use book-to-movie adaptations, but I think that it's relevant. Like, Prince Caspian the movie is not a terribly accurate adaptation of the book. However, I would argue that it is superior to the book because it takes a lot of the book's themes, does more interesting things with it. The action is better, the pacing is better. It's not an extended camping trip like the book is. But it is a good movie in and of itself. By contrast, a movie like Aragon is a Cliff Notes version of the book, and the book itself has problems being a ripoff of Star Wars. But the movie is not a good movie, mostly because it just doesn't do very much to change the source material, and it's relatively accurate. The climax is very different, but it's not. But it's mainly that it's a poor and stale fantasy movie that's got way too many similarities to Star Wars. If that makes sense, I guess.
Here's a super chat from Non-Vitae Rex. Thank you, sir. Do these characters mean so little to you? Why is he so perturbed by what is essentially an Elseworlds tale? I guess you can look at the movie like that. Same with other Superman stories like Red Sun, which is another take. What if Superman landed in Soviet Russia, right? Still Superman, still believes in all the ideals, but now he's working under the culture of communism, and how would he transform society if he was given that authority? A lot different than what happened to if he landed in a farmer's field. So, yeah, you can tell these stories, and Batman's also transformed as well. Batman's also in Russia, doing his Soviet thing. So, it's fun to see spins on characters as Elseworlds, as what ifs.
Yeah.
And play around with those ideas, because you might actually like them a little better for whatever reason.
I think an example of that is have either of you guys heard of Men of the West, the channel?
Yes,
no, I haven't yet.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. He does brother short form Lord of the Rings and Legendarium videos, and one of his things that he does are what if videos. Most of them are, what if this character took the One Ring? What would happen? And one of them was Aragorn, and it talks about kind of how Aragorn would act if he had the ring. And same with Gandalf, the what if of Saruman. Even did a couple of funny ones where Bill the Pony had the One Ring, I guess.
That's interesting.
Yeah. But yeah,
on the terms of this Elseworlds stuff, that's why I enjoyed it as. I enjoyed the Joker personally as a movie from an Elseworlds sort of perspective. This is like a different iteration on how the Joker might have developed. Because you take the Killing Joke, you might say that's one way, and Joker sets up in the Killing Joke that he might have personal, several different background stories. So I could just easily take up this one, except this one as another one. Maybe this wasn't not even real. It all depends on how you look at things and how what you take away from the Joker's story, because the Joker is such a mysterious character in the first place. But I can understand being upset about it if you don't think that it matches your interpretation of the character, or it matches what you feel and like about the character to begin with. We think the major elements of the character are. For example, I think Smudboy, I have not read Red Sun or whatever it is, but you explained to me before, and you said that he's still Superman. Like underneath all of that, he might have grown up in like the Soviet Union or whatever, but he's still Superman at his core, and which is why it was people kind of like that story. So, maybe to Professor Geek, maybe to him, it seems like Arthur Fleck was not the Joker. Like they didn't portray the Joker very well in this, or they didn't keep the torch alight. The Joker's torch alight. They did not keep well the name of the Joker in this movie, according to Professor Geek. So I can see that happening.
Okay. His understanding of the mythos is his own perception. That's totally fine. There's so many iterations of the Joker and what he really thinks the Joker is. So we have to accept that because, there's so many iterations of superheroes over the years. So you could be taking Silver Age, you could be taking Golden, you could take the 90s, all kinds. There's all kinds of just of animated versions. So that's fine.
Yeah, kind of like how there's various different iterations of Iron Man versus there's only one iteration of Aragorn, son of Arathorn, really.
Yeah, pretty much.
Coherent and cohesive and tightly wound together and themes well paced, well everything. But that doesn't matter. As great of a movie as I think that is in its own right, It's not the proper treatment of Superman, so I'll constantly stand against it. And that's the same thing with the Joker movie. The Joker movie, we've already seen it. It's already had a mark. Jim Lee's admitted, as I've said before, that this is going to start shaping the Joker from here on out. So everybody who wants to come and jump on the comments and say, Tom Browning already said it's not really a Joker movie. Don't be so naive. Don't be so freaking naive. They will say whatever they want to say. I don't believe that this movie started as a Joker movie. Not at all. I believe it started as some descent into madness kind of film, and somebody said, that Joker name, that brings in the bucks. Why don't we slap that sticker on top of it, and there we go. So yeah, I believe that happened, sure, but I'm not going to reward Warner Brothers for that dishonest marketing. No, this is ridiculous. This is something.
Is this audio cutting out a little bit?
It should not be supported, but
no.
Is his audio like fading out a little bit every once in a while?
That's okay. It's just soft. I can't do much with the volume, guys. It's cranked as high as it can go. So sadly, I can't fix that.
I think part of it is like he's in a car. I think that affects things.
People are lemmings, and if enough people on Twitter say it's good and it's amazing, well, I got to go see it too, or else I'll be left out. Can't have an independent thought like that. I got to go see it. So they're gonna go see it. They're gonna love it. Many of you've seen it already, and that's great. But everything that I've seen about the movie and the synopsis that I read, so that's what I want to get to, because a lot of people are gonna say, if they haven't typed it out in the comments already, well, at the end, you're wrong, Professor, because at the end he's sitting there in Arkham, and they insinuate that maybe he's wrong, and maybe this isn't his origin. Maybe he doesn't. This is just how he's remembering it right now. If that
is insinuated, a little bit.
Yeah.
During the course of the movie, it makes very clear that not everything Arthur Fleck experiences is real. He has little instances of fantasy coming to life where he can't really tell what really happened to what didn't happen. So did he kill his mother? We don't know, because by the time he kills his mother, for example, by the time Arthur Fleck murders his mom, it's already been revealed. Yeah, it's already been revealed to us that he's been experiencing these hallucinations this whole time. So what's real and what isn't? And I personally like that stuff in movies. I like Fight Club, American Psycho. So I think there's a nice
Nightcrawler. I think Nightcrawler is actually very objective in terms of presenting Lou Bloom, but I do love that movie.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing is, I think it's a really good touch to add in, especially in a movie about the Joker, or a character like the Joker. And in this movie, it's like Professor Geek said. Yeah, it's implied that maybe it's just a multiple choice sort of scenario here, because we've seen directly, the movie tells us, not like implied, it's not an instance of Kylo Ren steps on the red planet and that's the scars of his soul or something. It's directly told to us in the movie that not everything Arthur Fleck encounters is true or real. Some of it is his psychotic delusion, so we don't actually know. And it's very possible that we get different endings in different scenarios, different events that happen in his life that may or may not have existed, may or may not have happened. So that's totally something that could happen, within the context of the movie.
I think he has this one vision of Joker and Superman, etc. Like, he knows the essence of whatever he believes in, and that's, to him, that's all it is. Whereas I'm quite sure people have accepted Heath Ledger's Joker pretty well. Same with the Mark Hamill's version. They just accept it. They say, oh, this is another iteration. I like it. The same way we would read another comic book with another writer's take on Joker and say, oh, this is not bad. He just has a very singular view on what Joker is.
Yeah, and that's perfectly fine, because comics are kind of a fluid medium with their characters, mostly because of how long-running it is.
It's kind of a major element of the Joker, in fact. I would argue that's the major element of the Joker character, is how unpredictable he is and how much he can change from one issue to the next, and how it actually is built into his character, how inconsistent he can be in some respects anyway. Now, there are certain staple elements you need to have in the Joker for the Joker character, but a lot of them are also very fluid, as you say, Yeah,
I think part of it is just the long-running nature of it, because if you don't have something, if you just have the same thing over and over and over again, that kind of gets boring, wouldn't you agree? And having these new interpretations kind of fixes up the like kind of the staleness that might occur after you kind of have a repeat of the same character for several decades.
All right, let's keep going on.
The synopsis.
We're going through this quick.
Then that means it's probably not a very well done story. I won't fully judge that, without seeing it. I'm not going to see it, so whatever. But that's a really cheap little gotcha at the end. And that worked in The Killing Joke. People might say, well, that's what happened in The Killing Joke, and you defended that before. Well, yeah, because The Killing Joke was not a story about the Joker's descent into madness. That was a part of it, and that was a good part of it. It was a well-done part of it. Killing Joke was about Batman striving desperately to see if he would ever be able to get through to the Joker. And in part of that journey, we've got Joker's unaccount, anyway, of Joker's descent into madness, which will further label him to the point of, no, he's never really going to be able to get through. There's this weird moment at the end between the two of them laughing. People have speculated about what's going on and stuff like that, but no, the two of them will always be bitter rivals. That's there's so much more to The Killing Joke than just.
Well, there's one thing that actually that I believe the Joker movie did very well, and it captured the secret story in The Killing Joke. And if you read The Killing Joke, you'll notice that the very first panel of the comic book and the very last panel of the comic book are the same. And you would see it's exact same panel, the dark, rainy night, whatever. And the thing is that the Joker goes through all of this, and Batman goes through horror, and his friends go through horror, and Gordon goes through horror, and it's a horrible experience for everyone. And the Joker is just running around in a mad, usually his usual mad style, kidnapping people, murdering people, that sort of thing. And it's horrific. It's horrific. But then we see that Joker. We get to see his Joker origins, and I think at the end of the day, it was the one bad day. He keeps saying this. One bad day is what separates you from me, Batman. One bad day makes you can change you from a hero to a villain to a madman, and that's the whole theme. That's the whole direct theme. Now the thing is, when you take the Joker day, his one bad day. Now to him, that one bad day was a horrific, game-changing, life-changing day. It changed him from a man who was a comedian, as a regular person, to the person we know as the Joker. Now, to everyone else, it was just Thursday, right? It was just another day. It went by on countless people's. Everyone else, that was a day that's marked off. That was just another work day. Went to work, came home, drank a beer, went to bed, whatever. That was it. And so when Batman he experiences this day. He experiences days like this all the time. And when you take the idea of the very first panel of the comic book and the very last panel of the comic book being the same exact picture, same exact panel, to me that says that Joker went through horrible things. Batman went through horrible things. Barbara Gordon is going to be paralyzed for life. Her dad is going to be traumatized for life, more than likely in some respects. But to them, it was a life-changing night. It was a game-changing night. It was something that they will remember forever. But to us, the reader, to the comic book, that's just another day. Okay, the day began as it ended. Okay, it ended as it began. It was just another dark, rainy night. And that's if you listen to the Joker, at the end of the Joker, there's a scene at the end of the Joker movie where Joker shoots Robert De Niro in the head. And then it pulls out, right? It pulls out, and you see all these other TV screens, all these other channels. So to everyone in the audience, exactly,
because this is shocking. This is really, really shocking.
But here's the thing: when you see all these other channels, right? It's just it really gives that sense of it makes that it goes from a big screen, like the big screen of watching that horrific murder at the talk show, and seeing all these people run out of the studio and all that stuff. So to them, it was a traumatic event. To them, it was a life-changing event. To Robert De Niro's character, it was a life-ending event. When he pull out, they pull out, and they say, and we get to see all these TVs, and suddenly that whole horrific event that we just got done seeing is just another channel amidst a endless series of channels. Just one small picture on a screen amidst a plethora of pictures on a plethora of screens. So to me, that's the same exact message there, that while these people underwent a traumatic event, to some other people, it was a Thursday. And that's what I got. That's why I think I really connected to the Killing Joke, how the Joker movie really connected to the Killing Joke was it really conveyed that sense of it was traumatic for them, but for everyone else, it was nothing. Really, really well.
Yeah, there's also kind of the notion with Joker. It's like it's several bad days in a row. It seems like.
Arthur Fleck.
Yeah, with Arthur Fleck, it was Arthur Fleck.
Yeah,
it was not just
Arthur
one
Fleck,
bad day.
Yeah, it was like multiple. It was like probably like a bad month, bad year, bad life. And
Being
he finally
medicated.
decides,
Yeah.
Yeah, it just decides I am done with this BS. I'm done. Okay. Oh, it looks like it's the Smutted Dunn show.
Yay, Smutted Dunn show. Did he take off? No, he's still here. He's here in spirit.
He said BRB.
Yeah, he's here in spirit. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, admittedly, this is going by relatively quick.
No, he actually has things to say, and we're listening, and we're going, oh, okay, that's interesting. It's not driving us insane like all of our other videos we cover. This is like a cakewalk. I'm used to absorbing really bad ideas, whether it's fictional or otherwise, so this is like, there's some brains behind this gentleman. Thank you, sir.
Character. We don't follow him and care for him and invest in him and all of that. No, you've got him doing horrible things to Barbara Gordon, torturing Jim Gordon, Batman striving to put this all together and get through before the end. The Killing Joke's got a lot going on in it that the Joker movie doesn't. The Joker movie's just about the Joker. Let's just invest in him and he did have a rough time, didn't he? That's what we really.
Yeah, it's called The Joker, or it's called Joker, so I would expect it to be about him, but
Yeah, I would say so.
Feel sorry for him. Yeah,
it's kind of in the same way that Nightcrawler. You've seen Nightcrawler, right?
Which one was that?
Nightcrawler. It's the one with Jake Gyllenhaal and Rene Russo and Bill Paxton. It's basically this guy who is a nighttime news reporter.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. It's basically is solely from this one guy's perspective, and it's this guy's slow rise from kind of just an amateur dude who doesn't know what to do, but then he manages to slowly work his way up by using more and more nefarious means to get ahead.
Sensationalistic stories. Similar. I know. Yeah, he does. He stages the actual news events, and they're all violent or what have you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember seeing the trailer. It was like, whoa, that's kind of freaky. So.
Yeah, he is like Jake Gyllenhaal. I don't see Jake Gyllenhaal. I just see a psychopath or a sociopath who just freaks the crap out of me. I mean. Like, he's so creepy in that movie. It's insane. Like, that's a Heath Ledger level transformative performance.
Yeah. I mean, no, it's not good that he did what he did, but it's, you can sort of see why he did. No. That's not what the Joker's for. And don't even tell me, well, I didn't feel like that when I saw the movie, because that's what it's leading you to feel like. And then big whoop that it wants to do this little gotcha at the end and say, well, that's, how I remember it now. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You've already led people through this. It's already going to shape the way people are portraying the Joker from here on out in comics and whatnot. Not that matters too terribly much, because DC doesn't know what the heck it's doing right now. It's that's a universe that's so not worth even remotely touching in any way. So it's just, who cares?
So he has good taste regarding. Right. So he has good taste regarding Batman v Superman and Dawn of Justice. Justice League.
Geek is intelligent. He's a really intelligent guy. He's reasonable. He's giving reasonable arguments here. So because I even acknowledge that he disagrees with that the Joker is a good movie, but he's giving his reasons. He's giving really good, understandable, easy to grasp reasons why he doesn't like the movie, or why he doesn't want to watch the movie in the first place. Completely understandable reasons, which is awesome.
yeah, like kind of like I don't like Terminator. Like, I've never seen a single Terminator movie in my entire life. I know exactly what happens in all of them, though. Like, even me looking at Dark Fate, and like, this does not look like Sarah Connor from the Terminator 2. This looks like a cheap caricature of her based on the trailers I've seen.
That does not look like a good movie in general, yeah.
Yeah, true. Like, just like, okay. And then when I heard about it, it's just like, this is even stupider than the trailer. She has to recharge and has only a spurt to kill Terminators. Are you insane? That is so stupid. That is an asinine decision. Why did you do this? Like, even me as a non-Terminator fan, like that idea of what is her name? Grace? Having like a spurt to take down the Terminator? That's so dumb. That's ridiculously stupid.
Well, I kind of like his take on Joker, because it's very similar to people's take on Batman. Like, Batman is this guy who pushes himself to extremes, all for the sake of never having another person in Gotham go through what he went through. And they combine that with the idea that Batman never kills. He has this high moral compass, and yet he breaks a lot of the rules of law to hurt people, hurt individuals to get information, etc. So, but there's other iterations of Batman where Batman does kill, and we see that in the movies. He has guns. The iteration with his dad dad becomes the Batman is when his dad has guns and outright blows people away.
Yeah, I think when Thomas Wayne becomes Batman, he's like an insane weirdo murderer guy.
Yeah. So the idea of Batman is very I wouldn't say subjective, but like you can pick and choose and say, well, you know what, Batman is the guy who's going to scare the shit out of you, and he might even kill you to get what he believes is the greater justice. If he has to kill maybe a few crooks to get information on what the Kingpin's going to do, he's going to do it in some comics. And you might like that version of Batman better. Whereas the majority is like, no, in the comics, he is always striving to push himself to be unnecessarily in control so that there's no need for violence, or no need for lethal violence, rather.
For killing. To me, Batman shouldn't kill. No hero should kill.
Right.
To me, that's what I see a hero as. I think a lot of people tend to agree, because when you have a hero start killing, they kind of become an anti-hero. You get like the Punisher.
In a way.
Who doesn't really care about that
In a way,
stuff.
but even the first iteration of Batman, he was killing people.
He didn't care.
He was killing people. So it's like, oh, wait a second.
He was killing people.
Maybe not do that anymore.
Then he evolved into where he wasn't killing people anymore, because I think people didn't want to see that happen. They didn't want a hero who killed. They wanted a hero who was better than your average person, who was more morally conscious about that sort of thing. But
the 90s Batman, probably even the 80s Batman, was pretty much moral superior, was always strong about this, made sure Robins were like, that's why we had, was it Red Mask? The whole Red Mask storyline, where Robin just got fed up with
Red Hood.
Was it Red Hood? Sorry, Red Hood.
Yeah,
I think that was the whole thing why he turned against Batman for a bit. I don't know what happened to Red Hood. I just remember that he turned against Batman at one point. Yeah. And then he suddenly he's ally again. I have no idea. But the thing is, he got
summarize it.
I think what was the fact that he hated Batman killed for a while because he didn't kill the Joker, because the Joker killed him. Yeah.
Yeah.
And because Batman wouldn't kill.
Yeah, because he got revived by a Ra's al Ghul, and he put on the.
That's one thing I don't like about these comics.
It's so cheap.
Come back to life. They killed Death. They killed Death, right? They died. I guess they'll be back in a few months.
Well, they created
meaningless now.
Yeah, created Death in DC and Marvel has a revolving door. Is the best way of putting it.
Hope they're getting their free Sundays or whatever. Like you die 3 times in a month, you get a free Sunday from Hades or something.
Yeah. So there's a lot of iterations, and most people have taken, even popular writers nowadays will take, I think there's like 6 or 7 comics of Batman constantly running, and they still adhere, aside from Man-Bat, which is kind of strange.
Man-Bat's weird.
Yeah, so I think he eats things in that one. So it's, they take the ethical high ground where Batman does not kill, essentially. So that's the mythos currently of Batman.
about the Joker. I am happily saving that money, and happily saving my money for anything that DC does in film or comics. They've just gone above and beyond themselves to prove to us that they are in no way interested in providing us anything remotely like the content that they're known for. The classic iconic heroes, the classic iconic values, the stories that resonate in the human psyche. They've shown that that's not something that they're interested in doing. So yeah, I don't care. Whatever they want to do,
That's actually an interesting point. That's actually an interesting point. What would you say are like the stories that kind of resonate with the human soul, and how are those things not being portrayed right now? I think that's a fascinating question.
And relative to DC, I think I remember a lot of storylines from the Batman animated series. It was really good about that stuff. That's where they came from. The Batman animated series still resonates today because it didn't talk about current social issues or whatever. It didn't spout politics. It talked about very human ideas and emotions and very human elements, things that are very well pretty much universal. That a person from 100 years ago can identify with the same thing as a person who's living today. Identify with the same universal human elements. And that's what the Batman animated series continuously showed us in most of its episodes. Some episodes vary because it's a television show. I mean, come on. Yeah. But it did most
10s out of 10. You can't hit 10s constantly.
Exactly. It was suitable enough for children, but it gave us some very, very heavy stuff. More, every once in a while, some nice human elements that it explored over and over again, and it resonates with us. And you can watch it today, and it doesn't feel dated. It feels very real. Something that just came out yesterday.
And very similar to our discussion about She-Ra, I would say, the designs are great, the motifs were good, the color scheme, the color palette. But you know what? The animation was amazing. If you look at, I think, the second or third episode of the first season of Batman the Animated Series, it was the one with Clayface. They introduced Clayface. And they must have blew the budget on that one episode because they just went crazy with animating every single scene with Clayface. And he's like a blob. He's transforming his face into all sorts of people. It's just insane the amount of time and effort they put into that. And as soon as you see that, Batman, of course I'm going to watch Batman. Then you watch that, you're like, holy crap, Batman's up against this shape-shifting creature that can turn into anything. Like, well, this is insane. And they actually show it. They draw it all out. So they really wanted to do a good job. And because that first season resonated so well, that's why we got all the other Batman shows in the 90s, early 2000s. Batman Beyond was another excellent show.
Yeah, I think Batman Beyond, is very good. I also like that Batman Beyond Epilogue episode in Justice League Unlimited. It has actually one of my favorite Batman moments in it, where Batman goes in with the job to kill the little girl, but he just kind of sits on a swing with her and allows her to kind of just peacefully die, and then carries her out.
There's the Royal Flush Gang, I think.
Yeah, it was. I think it's like Ace or something. And he just calms her down and makes it so that she doesn't blow up the whole city when she dies.
Oh, right. She was an experiment from Amanda Waller. Oh, yeah. Okay. I remember what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good moment because it shows that Batman is a compassionate person.
Yeah.
And he's not just a dude who punches people. He's able to relate to this little girl, is able to calm her down and make it so that she is safe.
Right. To be fair, the little girl is a telepathic, telekinetic god. So it's like she could read...
Yeah, she's immensely powerful. She's a reality warper.
Right. So she could read Batman's mind. It's like, oh, you know what I'm going through? He's like, yeah. And she's like, yeah, I can respect you. It's like, holy shit, really? Oh my God. He's just a walk in the room.
Most famous episodes.
Yeah.
Batman just doesn't show up, and she's like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, and they just sit down and have a conversation, and then she just peacefully dies. I think that's a really sad and poignant moment. It's one of the most poignant things I've ever read, ever watched. I mean,
for a cartoon, that does something so simple. Yeah.
Yeah, and they don't really have moments like that anymore. It's kind of just they kind of miss. It's very rare. I think another example might be when Zuko and Aang first like have their own like conversation like after the Blue Spirit rescue, where Aang just says we might have been friends, and it's under different circumstances.
You mean shows that go over very human aspects of suffering and people dying before their time, and maybe what could have been, whatever could have been. That's my favorite line from "The Sun Also Rises" is the very ending line. Isn't it pretty to think so? And that's a very human thing to think about, because things don't always go the way they're supposed to. And things don't always go the way they're supposed to be planned to go. And things don't always go the way they should go. And that's why you get things like that little girl dying and Batman comforting her until she gently passes by, and where you get Zuko and Aang being enemies and saying that maybe in another universe, in another life, it could have been friends. I mean, exploring that is good, but that's not good though, because we've learned is that we have to have cartoons that spout politics all the time. That's apparently good writing, preaching politics and doing all kinds of weird stuff like social issues and stuff,
and don't even really understand the politics they're trying to cover.
Yeah, or have violence with no stakes. Like, you can't just start shooting people and expect them to live. It's like, no, you shot a guy. He's going to die. What are you doing? So,
I saw this one comic. I didn't read the comic, but I saw it reviewed by your boy Zach, and it was a comic written by the modern Marvel writers, and it was very woke, and it was a bunch of these, they replaced all the main heroes with girls, like young girls, like teenage girls. So like Hawkeye is now Kate Bishop or whatever. One of them it turned out that they had a bomb in their head, and the stakes, the whole dilemma was trying to take out the bomb without killing them. And you think it would be just this intense scene of them trying to find out what it is and trying to find out, go down for try to find people for information, trying to hunt people down to see what we can do. But it was essentially a sleepover. It was they were all laughing, smiling, having a lot of fun, giggling, while they're trying to figure out how to take the bomb out of this person's brain, their friend's brain. It's that's how you can see this sort of stuff. It's how they write. They don't treat anything seriously. They don't dare give the dire situations the heaviness and malevolence it requires. So it's everything. They're treating the readers like they're kids. Like, okay, honey, you have a little cut there. Let me go ahead. Don't cry. I'm going to take care of it. Just look at my jingling keys. Right? It's like that, very soft, very non-threatening.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what you get with a lot of these modern cartoons and stuff, these modern comics, all these modern movies. Is that they don't have the gall, they don't have the hubris or whatever you want to call it. They don't have what it takes to deliver a storyline where they always have the stakes be real, seem dire and desperate and downright disturbing to the viewer or the reader anymore. In a lot of cases, and sometimes they do, but a lot of these, if they're really, really woke, they tend not to.
Consequences are good, guys, in your stories. Always have consequences. Hey, Glib, how's it going, buddy?
Oh, lovely. It's great to see you, buddy.
I can't hear a thing. I can see the green circle. I can't hear a thing, Glib. Unfortunately, yeah. We're going to keep on going, though. You figure that out, okay? Keep on talking.
Yeah.
How about now?
That they're going to burn down.
There we go.
With them on their way out, with Dan Didio, with Warner Brothers, whoever's in charge there, they're going to burn it all down on their way out. They're not going to let go unless somebody else do better. So, don't mean to be all doom and gloom, but that's just the way it is. So what does that mean for those of us who love the characters dearly and who hold to them and really, are inspired and aspire to who those characters should be? That just means we have to keep the classics. We have to keep pissing off Dan DiDio and going and buying all of the old classics and not the new stuff. We have to keep
that's exactly what I've said. That's exactly what I've been saying.
Yeah.
Like they can keep pumping out this woke content, this woke media, but guess what? You might make me angry or frustrate me for a few seconds at the very best. But the thing is, there's still classics out there. There's still things that aren't woke that I can go back to and read every day. I have not only the movie Dark Knight Returns, but I have the comic Dark Knight Returns. They're both very good. And every time they come out with a new comic book or a new movie or a new show that is a new Batman, but it's woke, where Batgirl takes over and beats him up or something like that, I can say, no, I don't want to watch this. I'm not going to invest money and time into viewing this nonsense. I'm going to go back and read The Killing Joke. I'm going to read The Dark Knight Returns. things that are not woke. I can easily do that.
This is true, but this is fascinating because he's seeing it from a personal perspective, what he thinks the character of the Joker is. So he could have watched Tim Burton's Batman and says, "Nope, this is not the Joker. I'm not going to watch this. This is not my thing. I'm going to buy the old 1970s comics. That's my thing." It's like that's kind of his opinion. So even though we know the Joker movie is actually pretty good and of high quality, to him it's like, no, this is not Joker. This is not what I think I want to see.
Hashtag not my Joker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at least it's kind of like getting to the point where I would honestly prefer like a really excellently written movie over a faithful adaptation if I had to choose either.
I think that's what it comes down to is this guy is a really hardcore whatever version of Batman and Batman's Joker. And the average person looks at this and says, well, is it a good movie? Am I going to be entertained? Does it shock me? Does it have some value to it aside from just being violent or whatever? Because everyone going into this movie before it was released was like, oh, it's just going to be this male chauvinistic thing. And there's going to be violence happening in the streets afterwards because they're going to get this some weird inspiration to do so. All these other silly things that the left-leaning Politica were saying. And you're like, no, it's just a movie.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people were claiming that it's like the modern day Catcher in the Rye, and I'm like, I do not have any respect for you. Like, I don't believe, maybe it's just me and being somewhat cynical, but I just don't believe that media has that kind of effect anymore these days. We're just so saturated with it. That's just me, I guess.
Well, in terms of how violent our media is, you think that it's not going to have much of an effect anymore?
Well, no, I mean like not in terms of like violence. I just mean like philosophical. Like since Catcher in the Rye, the reason why Catcher in the Rye people don't like that book is because it introduced kind of spread a philosophy that like other people didn't necessarily like. That's why, and honestly, like the philosophy of Joker is more that it's just a poor man who is broken down by society. Versus Catcher in the Rye is more like it's like an anti-nihilism treaty. I think that a lot of people believe kind of promoted nihilism, I guess.
I felt like what they were doing was I don't feel like they were actually trying to preach a message to me. They just wanted to sort of present information, its own little agenda, sort of like it felt like I wasn't watching propaganda, like I wasn't watching trying to preach to me. I just felt like they were trying to just tell a simple story, and you can draw your own conclusions about the politics of it. Don't have like the writer trying to force their views on you through the narrative, which, in my opinion, is the best way to handle politics in your story. In general, I'm sure there might be exceptions to that rule, though.
I think one thing about it is basically it's almost anti-political, and in terms of it portrays both the rioting townspeople and the upper class as both equally bad. I think that's actually an interesting way of looking at it.
Like more neutral?
Yeah, where it's like it is just saying, here are these two things. Take what you can, but ultimately the rioting townspeople are still bad in terms of they're causing a lot of destruction, but the rich are also like they're just apathetic to the plight of the poor. That's what it seems like. Thomas Wayne is kind of putting a performative act on in order to say, hey, I want to fix the city, but there's still an element of he's kind of apathetic towards the plight of the proletariat, I guess is the best way of putting it.
Apathetic or like dismissive, like, hey, Smud, I'm in the watch together room, but the playing, if I hit play, it might get me at the right spot for you guys. So
it'll automatically.
Yeah, we're at 10:27. I'm gonna hit play for you. Okay.
I'll tell you if it's working.
These characters keep them alive. so that when these
it's
new
working.
versions, these new hip, BS hipster nonsense takes on these characters eventually just fizzle out.
Although I'm actually not hearing audio.
Then we'll be able to say, no, here's what here's what isn't gone yet. Here's what's remained within the consciousness. So,
I actually can't hear this guy. Has anyone had this problem with Watch Together recently? You go into a room and can't hear? Because this is the first time I'm seeing anything like this. Give me...
That hasn't happened yet.
It hasn't happened to me yet.
Re-enter, sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Okay. Yeah.
Interesting. He has very enlightened understanding of movies and comics, and he has his own opinions. And it's like, yeah, you can like this version of Batman and Joker. Great. No problem with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, does he just not like this version of Joker? Like, what's his deal?
Essentially, his argument is that
that's all I've got to say for this.
The whole thing about he views the other iterations of Joker as a true iterations of Joker, like the one from the comic book and all the stuff, and that kind of insulted by the fact that people consider Arthur Fleck a Joker, because to him he's not the Joker. He's not he doesn't carry the usual traditional elements you would see in the typical iteration of the Joker. So he's not the super smart genius planner or psychotic person or anything like that. He's not the Joker in his eyes. And so when people paint him up as a Joker and call him the Joker, it feels kind of like an insult to him via the Joker, like insult to the Joker's legacy. Which is
I could actually
understandable, yeah.
Understand that. I can sort of sympathize with it, in that, like, I probably wouldn't want this version of the Joker to be like an arch nemesis of a verse, like cinematic universe type Batman, where we're supposed to get multiple movies of these characters. But as far as like a standalone story goes, it's still, I think as an adaptation, like even if it's deviating a lot from the source material, like it works well for a standalone Elseworlds story. Comics will do Elseworlds stories that take characters in different directions for a temporary period of time. You've got like the Marvel What If series, for instance. I mean, they are making a What If series for the MCU for Disney Plus. So it's like I view Joker as sort of like a what if Joker wasn't a genius? What if he was just a poor guy that everyone mistreated until he like one day snapped, I guess, and became the Joker. That's just how I see the movie. It's like an Elseworld story. That's all.
Yeah, or it's kind of just it could even be interpreted as just like, this is just a movie in the style of Falling Down, Taxi Driver, and it's just like, it's in the style. It's not ripping off. It's just something in a similar vein, I guess.
And I want to see somebody review Joker and then make a movie about that. Just like someone's so angry about how Joker was like catering to incels or something like that they start to turn into a supervillain and they start to lash out at society, and then they end up on a TV show.
Perfect.
They get featured on EFAP. They get mocked on EFAP, and then that just causes their. But no, like what's going on with Arthur Fleck being the Joker in this movie? It's I understand adaptation. The thing is, though, that again, because this is probably going to be just a standalone film, unless they make a sequel, which I really hope that they don't.
Yeah, I don't want a sequel.
It's not nearly as bad as what they've done with Black Mask and Cassandra Cain in the DCEU.
I've heard that is.
Yeah, she's supposed to be this mute, badass Batgirl that's like trained by ninjas and everything. And in Birds of Prey, she's a chatterbox. She's not going to be mute. She's not Batgirl. She's useless. She's a human MacGuffin, and she's played by a fucking terrible actress. And she's also going to be like, great. I thought that she was supposed to be Batman's sidekick, but guess not. Not in the DCEU. It's like, this is the extended universe version of Cassandra. Like, I cannot believe that this is the Cassandra Cain that's staying, at least, as far as we know, because who knows? They hold on to Henry Cavill. They couldn't hold on to Ben Affleck. They couldn't hold on to Jared Leto. They keep on they keep on fucking up and then just like getting rid of the actors because they realize.
Yeah, it just seems as though they kind of just don't know what they want and are kind of throwing crap at a wall until they kind of get something that they think will be monetarily successful.
Oh, so you're trying to say the Snyder Cut is like a Hail Mary? It's like, oh, what do we do? We have no idea. It's like, what do people want?
It's the last chance.
Yeah, it's just like
I mean,
it's still going to be bad. It's still going to be bad. Like let's be honest.
Literally every movie in the DCEU is Aquaman. That includes Wonder Woman. Well, Wonder Woman's actually the first 2/3 are fine. The last act is bad. Shazam is bad as well. Sorry, Shazam
I
was in
think all
chat,
the
but Shazam's awful.
DCEU movies are bad. I don't think there's a single DCEU movie that is like excellent. And
No, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, Wonder Woman.
Joker doesn't
Yeah,
count.
that's decent for the first 2/3. It's like passable. It's a passable movie by like, or barely passable by the MCU's standards, basically. Like, it's like a 9 out of 10 because of how awful the rest of the DCEU is. But if I'm comparing it to like other superhero movies in general,
Actual movies?
yeah, like even just the MCU, it'd be like, I don't know, a 5 or a 6. Like it's really not that special.
or even like compared to like something like The Dark Knight or Batman Begins.
It's whatever. I was right about the Joker movie.
All right. I'm still not hearing audio out of this guy. This is very
But shall we? What if we refresh the page and I'll just? We're at 10:52. Why don't we just refresh the page?
I don't think it has anything to
that-
do with our current website for that page. I think it's purely your browser. And
Yeah, that's strange.
yeah, it would have nothing to do with us. Try a different browser, maybe, Southpaw. That might work. Like using Firefox or Chrome or IE or Safari or Opera.
You know what? It might. It's possible that because I'm using a mix amp for my AT2020 right now, it'll be. Let me quickly plug my earbuds into the mix amp and see what happens.
Okay. We only have like 2 minutes left, so we have, not much left, but
Yeah.
All right.
okay, let's get going.
I'll be back with more live streams, more all of the usual.
Oh, that was it.
But, do check out my
Yeah.
graphic novel ending this Saturday. Yeah, the store's coming down this Saturday. So limited time in on that, and then I've got the link to the next campaign that's coming soon as well, a Sword and Sorcery book that's coming out. So check that out, and until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories you love. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, so Professor Geek had a what is it, an Indiegogo? He started his own comic, I think. Lots of beautiful women in that comic. He hit his goal.
What's
so
it called?
Yeah, he's an actual writer. He's an actual writer.
What's it called?
He's a professional.
What's it called? What's it called?
A fire in something. It sounds very sensual, so I can't recall exactly what it was called. But I was looking at the pictures. I apologize. So I don't remember the name, but it's definitely in the description of this video. Or go ahead and check it out.
Okay.
But he did get funded.
Yeah, for sure.
He did do the job. So good for him. He knows what he's doing. And that was I would love to talk to this guy. That was an interesting take on
I would too.
on Joker
I
in
would
general.
too.
Yeah.
I think it's very much like I think that him and Doomcock would very much get along in terms of like they have very similar mindsets and views on how canon works. I think that that's a fair assessment of what they are.
Yeah, I really respected that. I totally like when someone sees an iteration of a character or a series, like this is my James Bond, this is my favorite kind. I think that's cool. You can latch onto it. There's nothing wrong with it. And to not watch other movies as a result or read other books maybe might not be the fairest take of what another writer could do. But I respect the choice to not consume everything that is like Sherlock Holmes just because it has the name on it. Right?
Yeah, and here's the thing. I'd like to point out that Professor Geek made a very good video that we kind of disagree with, but he made a very good video with dishing out very good points on why he believes the thing he believes, why he has the opinions he believes or he holds, without having the crux of his argument rely on calling us bigots and reactionaries and chuds and all that stuff for 12 minutes straight.
How do you know?
So Very
How do you
good.
Just
Very good.
He just guessed, and I was immediately identified just because I didn't like a movie, or I like a movie. I don't even know. It could be whatever.
Yeah. So usually we have people who just call us all the kinds of names and stuff like that all throughout the video, just because you don't agree with me, you're wrong. Professor Geek, he actually gives a argument and then backs it up with evidence. Very novel these these days, apparently.
Wait, so what's his thesis for this video?
It's kind of like he doesn't necessarily believe that this is a very good adaptation of Joker, and kind of just feels like they're kind of doing whatever they want with the character and not really staying true to the spirit of the character, I would say is his basic argument.
The interesting take was on The Killing Joke, where he says that story was more than just about Joker, so he liked it more, even though it did have more background on the Joker and why the Joker was doing what it was doing, because it fleshed out the world more. He's like, yeah, I could see there's Batman going on, and this particular story is going on, and this character is doing something else. So that's fine. But then he gave the example of Joker, it's just Joker. It's like, well, that's kind of the point of the movie. So to him, his bias is still, I have my idealized version, and that's the best because the Joker should be an agent of chaos or an elemental spirit that is associated with that sort of thing. And again, that's totally cool because that's been done. There's so many iterations of all these characters in all the years that we've read or seen or played these games of Batman and Joker. So that's totally great. I think we can respect that. There's nothing wrong with liking, the original Star Trek, never watch anything else, or Star Wars, same idea. That's cool. We can respect it. He has rational opinions. He disregarded and threw away all the political nonsense, all the other media crap. He says, I didn't care about any of that shit. So great. Good on you, sir. Bravo. This is a very uplifting video compared to the other stuff we watch.
Yeah.
Man, we watch a lot of crap, guys. This is like, wow.
Yeah.
A diamond in the rough. Diamond in the rough.
Yeah.
So thank you I can't remember who recommended it. It was always in my suggestions, but what a great take.
Then at the result, it was calling us reactionaries or saying that money is arbitrary. None of that stuff.
It was actually like relatively pleasant.
He didn't have to reference Hume once, so that's awesome. No mention of Hume at all.
But you know what? I bet he actually has the education. He might have actually read Hume.
Sure. He probably actually has read Hume.
Yeah.
And knows how to interpret Hume correctly. And even use him.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I think that's all for tonight. Thanks for your time. I know it was very short, but I was not expecting Glib and Southpaw to pop in. Thanks, guys, so much. I really appreciate it. If you if you guys have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments. I know that I think Southpaw wanted to do one when you were free. I wish we had time tonight, but we don't. But tomorrow or the weekend, if you guys want to do it, we'll figure that out later. But please, any suggestions, leave them in the comments. Come to my Discord, leave them in the suggestions panel. Really appreciate it, and we'll see you soon. Talk to you later.